Hey everybody, today is December 22nd, so we'll be looking at December 21st MTG stocks. Nothing too much has raised up today. See, we got about 20% here, and then all these lower ones are all from Theros Beyond. We won't be looking much at those until a little bit later. And then we could see that this Edge of Autumn that we looked at last time is still crazy high, and most of this other stuff is nothing too low on price decreases. So we'll go ahead and go into our first one, which is a Yavimaya Coast. Yavimaya Coast is just a pain land. Pain lands are, you can tap it for a colorless mana, or you can tap it for a color of whatever type it is. In the case of this is a blue and green or Simic land. There are pain lands for each color combination, each dual color combination, I should say. And then when you tap it for one of those colors, you take 1 damage. So in this case, as I said, Yavimaya land, you can tap for colorless, or you can tap for green or blue, and then it does 1 damage to you. I really like the pain lands. I think they should be in a lot of decks, in the sense of like if you aren't doing like a super budget deck, I think it's pretty appropriate and probably pretty beneficial to have this into your deck, because like 1 damage isn't too bad for you. The other thing about these is they're generally cheap. Now in this case, this one will raise from 1142 to 1366 on MTG stocks. It shows on MTG stocks, but that is just the really old version here, which is the Apocalypse. As we can see down here, it's showing $4, but it seemed like it raised up pretty quickly for some reason. But as you can see in the older versions here, they are not older, the newer versions, I should say. These have all like, they're around $1.50 or $2. They're probably a little bit cheaper than that, honestly. And these are all solid. The problem I have with the pain lands is that they aren't all equal, in the sense of like the Rakdos one. That one is significantly more expensive, just because they haven't reprinted it as much, and I don't know why they haven't. They really should. But that's the only bad thing, is that it's kind of like, you know, it's like shock lands, and it's like the fetch lands. They all have different prices, just because if they haven't reprinted them, or etc. etc. So it always kind of sucks. But if the pain land is cheap enough, I would probably put it in your deck, because it makes your deck not as slow compared to tap lands. And we'll go ahead and go into our second card of the day, which is Gender Saddlebags. This one has increased from 2150 to 2337, and that is specifically for the Arabian Night set. As you can see, otherwise it's not a great card, because it's like 20 something cents in all the others basically. So what Gender Saddlebags does is it costs 2 colorless, it's an artifact, and then you can pay 3, tap it, and you untap target creature. As you can imagine, this is fairly specific. There's the blue commander, where you can tap it and draw 3 cards. This wouldn't be a bad card to have for it, because paying 3 mana to draw 3 more cards is pretty good. But it's not great. There's better things than this. But if you need to have a lot of untap effects, I would say it's not too bad. Now what's interesting though is that I guess they probably eroded this because maybe it's too powerful at one point. But what's surprising is that here it shows on the old card that it's 3 colorless, untap a creature, but they changed it to 3 colorless, tap, untap a creature. And so I guess they're like, let's not potentially break it. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of easy ways to break it. But I'm still surprised they did change it. I don't know. Oh well. Let's go ahead and go into our third card, which is Horn of Deafening. Horn of Deafening has gone from 1185 to 1048, so this was a price decrease. But as you can see over here, not a big deal, because you can buy the Chronicles one for 30 cents. And what it does is it's a 4 colorless artifact. You can pay 2, tap it, and prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by target creature this turn. So it's okay. I would say this is, you know, for a stacks deck, it's nothing great. If you're doing a budget stacks deck, that's what you probably want to. This would probably be an okay one to put in there, just to have. It just, you know, if someone has like a 20/20 creature, you're like, all right, well, I'm not going to deal with that for 2 mana. But There's probably a lot better cards than this. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I feel like I've seen better cards than this. It's it's probably gonna be your budget card, except for the Legends one, which for some reason is $10 just because it's old, basically. And then for our fourth card, this one is actually an expensive card. This is Mana Drain. This is if you're in CEDH, you probably run on one of these if you have blue in your deck. This went from $163.89 or $163.89 to $144.49. So even though it was a price decrease, it's still pretty expensive. And the cheapest one that you can apparently get is from Iconic Masters, which is still running you about $83+. And the reason why it's so expensive is Mana Drain is a blue instant counter target spell. So this is basically a better counter spell. And then at the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of colorless equal to that spell's converted mana cost. So if someone paid 8 mana for something, you countered it for 2, and now you're getting 8 mana at the beginning of your next main phase. Pretty crazy. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of counter spells. I don't know how many people are. I guess if you're like a main blue player, then I'm sure you like them. This one feels super bad because I mean, counter spells can feel bad because you have creatures that come into play. They're like, oh, I come into play and I get, I don't know, 10 life or something. And then you counterspell it. You're like, okay, well, no, you don't. So not only did you spend your card, not get your health, but it's like I probably countered it for less mana than you paid for it. So it's like, But this one's even worse because not only did you not get your effect and you wasted your card, and I only spent 2 mana to counter it, now I get all the mana that you spent on it back. And so it's like, it feels bad, man. Feels bad. But there's a good reason why this card is expensive. Also, I haven't actually seen this art version. I've only really seen like this one. Like it's just kind of interesting, like Mana Drain. I guess it's supposed to be just kind of underwater, just some almost looks like plankton or something weird. I can't tell. But I just haven't seen this art, so I thought that was kind of cool as well. And then we'll be going to our commander of the day. This is Marath, Will of the Wild. He is a Naya commander, so he cost red, green, white. He's a legendary creature elemental beast, and he has 0/0 power. 0 power, 0 toughness. What he does do, though, is that when he enters the battlefield, you put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent on it. So, for a commander, this is pretty nice. Pay 3 mana initially, he's a 3/3, basically. Then, if he dies and he goes to your command zone, you now have to pay 2 more colorless mana, but because of his effect, since you're paying 2 more colorless mana, that means you're putting 5 +1/+1 counters on him. So that's kind of the idea of him, and it's pretty neat. But then he has his other effect. You can pay X, remove X +1/+1 counters from him, and then you choose one. You can put X +1/+1 counters on target creature. X can't be 0. So, the good thing about this is this allows you to, buff up your other creatures. And so if you need to kill off your Marath and you want to resummon him to get more +1/+1 counters out, you can do that pretty easily. What's sad, though, is I guess they errated this. This says here, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature. This one says X can't be 0, because I assume there's the, I think it's Hardened Scales, which is a green enchantment that allows you to put whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on something, you put 1 plus that. And so maybe there's some weird interaction where you can just infinite combo with that, because you'd say X equals 0, I'm putting 0 +1/+1 counters on this creature. With Hardened Scales, I'm now putting 1 +1/+1 counter. So that's probably why they eroded that, sadly. But it's probably good, because then that'd be pretty ridiculous and no one would like you. Then, not really. I mean, if you're doing infinite combos, it's fine. If you're in a meta that doesn't do infinite combos, they wouldn't like that. And then its other effect here is he deals X damage to any target. X can't be 0. Again. So this just allows you to, if you have the mana to spend, if you with this deck, you can probably pretty easily get his +1/+1 counters up easily. through other effects like doubling his counters or proliferate or whatever you need. So being able to pay off that mana and then to just ping a player down or a planeswalker down, not too bad. It's very versatile. And then his other effect is you create a XX green elemental, and X can't be 0 yet again. So if you just, maybe Marath's going to die, you're like, okay, well, I have no other creatures out, but I'll go ahead and just create myself a 5/5 creature, or even a 1/1 creature, or anything that you can do. It's interesting. I like the versatility of this, and I think there's a lot of good ways to do with it, like a lot of good ways to play around with this commander and do some really neat things. And as we can see, he's only like 75 cents, so he's a pretty decent budget commander too. And then we'll be going into our random card of the night, which is Oxidize. The reason why I chose this one is mostly because I really, really like this full art look. This was a, as we can see, Magic player rewards. This was a specific, I guess, a reward for people. But as you can see, generally it's like a 41-cent card, and it doesn't look anywhere near the full art kind of look here. And then usually I feel like these Magic player reward cards, they look they basically just take the artwork off a card and are like, and here we go. This one, for some reason, just kind of gave it this, it almost, honestly, it looks like a Kamigawa look to me, but regardless, I like it. Maybe that's why I do like it. Anyways, what the card actually does here is it costs green, it's an instant, and then you destroy target artifact that can't be regenerated. Nothing fancy, but this could be good if, I guess can't be regenerated, whatever, but going against artifact decks in general, just having a 1 mana instant is not bad for sure. And there's also Naturalize, which is more versatile, and you're probably going to put Naturalize over Oxidize. But if you're in a meta where someone has a lot of artifacts, I don't think Oxidize is a bad way to go, especially if they do a lot of regeneration and for some reason. I don't know what deck. I need to make a regeneration deck now just to get really messed up by Oxidized or Wrath of God, where I can't regenerate or something weird. I don't know. But anyways, love the art on that one. And then, as always, we'll end off the night with a couple of random cards. Random card number 1. Oh, that's a pretty good one. Nicobola's Dragon God. This cost blue, black, 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 red. Very expensive if you don't have a lot of black in your deck, but is a legendary planeswalker, Bolas. He has a loyalty of 4 starting, so he starts with 4 loyalty. And this is from War of the Spark, if you're not aware. This was kind of like one of the big cards. This one was pretty expensive for a while, but it's gone back to about, I don't know, $10-ish. So it used to be like 25, but I think having black, black, black in the cost is probably why. But I think Nicobolas has always kind of been this cost or around this cost. So what he does is, when I say Nicobolas Dragon God has all loyalty abilities of all planeswalkers on the battlefield. So this is really good if you're doing a Super Friends deck, because you could basically, if someone has like a +1 ability, or like a +2 ability, I should say, and you really just want to get Nicobolas' abilities up, well, there you go. You can get his ability up really quick. Or I feel like there's some guy, I feel like it's Gideon, that gives him like +4. So with that, you can basically +4, and then now you're at 8 immediately, and that's really spooky. But of course, you can steal other people's planeswalkers' abilities, which is really nice too. Another good effect I can think would be like Chandra, when she has her +1 ability. That's like give an opponent a emblem, and they take 1 damage at the beginning of their upkeep. Being able to do that with Nicobolas and Chandra, doing that twice a turn, seems pretty spooky as well. Anyways, his other abilities are still pretty good, which is +1, you draw a card. Each opponent exiles a card from their hand or permanent they control. So, you get to draw a card, and then the opponent has to exile from their hand or permanent. If someone has a token deck, probably not a big deal, they exile a token. But I think the fact that it's not even discarding and it's exiling makes it even worse, and it seems like a very, very powerful effect. His -3 ability here is destroy target creature or planeswalker. Yet again, versatile, very nice. I mean, like, both of these abilities here are just very nice abilities, and being able to steal everybody else's abilities is even worse for other people, not you. For you, it's great. And then his -8, each opponent who doesn't control a legendary creature or planeswalker loses the game. So, I mean, since this is Grixis has pretty decent ways to control the board, I would say. Blue and black, and then red can also ping off stuff if you need. But you could basically, there's probably a very, very easy way to fandangle this, where you can just be like, all right, I'm just going to clear up your board real quick, keep Nicol Bolas out, use his -8 ability. The one problem will probably be that you have to get up to that -8. And if he was green, which, I mean, it wouldn't make sense if Nicol Bolas was green, but if you have green in your deck in general, you can proliferate a lot easier. Maybe just quickly and spookily get that -8 off ability. But, you know, it's a pretty cool card. I like it. It's just hard to get off the effect of the -8 effect, but I think most planeswalkers are that way anyways. But let's push away from this. I guess last comment was I like the art. Push away from this and get to our other random card. Oh, another mythic. All right. This was what, from 2019? This was in the Ajani deck. It looked familiar. This is Champion of the Stray Souls. 4 colorless, black, creature, skeleton, warrior. It's a 4/4. You can pay 3 colorless, black, tap it, sacrifice X other creatures, return X creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. I'll get into that in a second. The other ability is you can pay 5 colorless, black, put Champion of Strays from the top on the top of your library from the graveyard. So basically, you pay 7 mana and put them back on the top of your library. That's okay. This ability, though, this one right here, can be spooky. So what I like here is that you pay 5, you tap them, and you sacrifice X other creatures. So the sacrifice X other creatures is part of the cost. So if you have very, very good enter the battlefield effects, which you can do is, so like, I used this in one game. It's kind of annoying, mind you, but this is what I had. I was just playing the precon, is that they had Meteor Golem. Meteor Golem's effect is, when he enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent. And then I think I had a couple of other things that enter the battlefield effects. But if you get a bunch of those out, then you pay 5 mana, and you sacrifice those creatures. They're in your graveyard. Then you can return those creatures. So for like a Flicker deck, I think this is a very good card. I actually think this is probably a very good Animato card. And that's pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure it works that way. That's how I played it anyways, because since it's part of the cost, I assume that those will go immediately to that graveyard. If it's not, then let me know. But I think that for Flicker decks, I think this is pretty awesome. I think for Animato specifically, that would be even better. I do like this card a lot. I understand why it's 24 cents though, because he costs 6 mana. 4 life isn't too hard to get rid of. And then you still have to pay 5 mana. So this is a pretty huge setup. But if you can pull it off, I think there is a ton of ways that this can be pretty devastating. But anyways, those are some pretty good random cards to end off on. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time and have a good one.